Welcome to the Period Besties podcast with Stasha and Katie. Think about it as chatting with your best friends about all the TMI stuff you've never talked about before with two period coaches who've been helping hormones collectively for over 20 years now. I'm Stasha.
And I'm Katie, and we're pulling back the curtain on what it's like in the world of menstrual coaching. From puberty to menopause and everything in between, we're here to show you how period coaching can save the day. We'll share practical tips and information you can put to immediate use to improve your hormones and happiness.
We're removing the mystery, ending the taboo, and shining a light on just how powerful period coaching can be.
So whether you need period coaching or are considering becoming a period coach yourself, these episodes are going to help you. We'll share stories, coach live on air, and bring smart, savvy guests to share their wisdom too. Let's start today's episode.
Okay, we just finished talking with Kate of Funk It Wellness, who I didn't know, but is actually good friends with Katie. So this was fascinating to me because I love meeting new people and hearing their stories and their journeys. So I loved it. I found it so fascinating. And one of the first things that she says is being an accidental entrepreneur. And I am taking that line with me for the rest of my life. I love it.
I do too. I wrote that down in my notebook because I was like, oh, accidental entrepreneur. But she has really created this incredible company, started out with seed cycling. She has these cycle bites. She has this delicious like cacao maca powder. I actually had it after dinner last night. I love her products. But I also love what she's doing with period coaching and really helping support her clients with diving into labs. I thought that was really interesting. You know, she does the Dutch, the GI map. But what I thought was really cool about that, like she does the labs, but she's like 9 out of 10 times I kind of know what's going on even before that. And we were just talking a lot about how we all work with clients and the future of period coaching, all very interesting tidbits and lots of really quick and easy things that all of us can add and apply to our own life as well, like to how to support our own hormones and cycle.
Yeah, you need to get a notebook and a pen out for this episode because I think you're going to have some things where you're like, oh my gosh, I need to do that. Let me jot that down. And also, if you're somebody who is into the health, especially like food and nutrition, and even if you're thinking about doing something yourself, like in your own business, this is going to be really inspiring as well for you. So I can't wait for you guys to listen to it. So without further ado, let us bring on our guest for today, Kate of Funk It Wellness.
Today we have a special guest, Kate Morton. She is the owner of Funk It Wellness, a registered dietitian, and a lovely human being. We are so excited to have you here and talk to us about your health journey and how you actually started your own company, which is incredible, in 2 companies, basically. Your nutrition company and your amazing seed cycling company. So we always like to start off by just having you share like who you are, how you came to kind of be. I want to hear a little bit about New Zealand in this story and share with everybody all the awesome things that made you where you are today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. So I'm Kate Morton. I'm a registered dietitian. I've got a master's degree in human clinical nutrition. I was actually a pediatric pulmonary dietitian when I started my career, and and I'm also the founder of Funk It Wellness, which we'll get into. And moving to New Zealand was such a pivotal part of my life because one, I couldn't be a dietitian over there. So I ended up working at Lululemon and doing marketing and then working for other startups and kind of learning the e-commerce space. And that's where I decided I would absolutely never own my own company ever because it looked really hard. And then I got off of birth control. And I mean, look, I'll be real with you guys. I had an awful experience on birth control. I was one of those people that like, if there was a weird side effect, like when I was on Yaz, I ended up having an allergic reaction to it. And then like the implant, I bled every day for 2 years. And so it just never worked for me. So I was so excited when I got off. And then when I got off, everything was awful because I'd been on it for 10 years. And I got on it pretty much like right when my period before it started to regulate. So I was really dealing with almost a lot of those puberty issues of like the hormonal acne and the irregular cycles and cramps and, pretty much every symptom in the book. And then I got introduced to seed cycling, which I thought was total BS, which we'll get into what that is in a little bit. But then it started working for me and I started making it in my kitchen, and then I started giving it to my friends, and then their friends wanted to buy it, and it just kind of snowballed into this business. So I ended up as an accidental entrepreneur. And then I got diagnosed with Hashimoto's last year, and I had such an awful experience with the healthcare system, which I know Katie actually knows a lot about because I just vented to her about this when I was going through it, and she helped me navigate it. And then I started my telehealth company after that, just because I really believe people deserve to be listened to, and our current model is just not working, especially when it comes to hormone issues and autoimmune issues. A lot of those things take a lot of unraveling that you can't really do in a 15-minute appointment. So that's a long story of how I ended up owning 2 businesses and being really obsessed with periods and health. It just all was, I was dealing with it, then my friends are dealing with it, and then I met all these cool people online who were dealing with it, and I was like, I think there's something here.
I have to just call out the accidental entrepreneur. That's probably that's my new hashtag, I think. I don't know. I love it.
It's just like the truth of I just remember watching my boss, it was a wellness beverage company. We were doing circular fulfillment where we would literally drop it off at your door. You'd leave your empties. We would take them and recycle them for you. And it was just 2 of us. Some days I was driving on the other side of the road in New Zealand, all over these windy roads, picking up glass bottles. And I was just like, this is so cool, but so hard. He just looks so stressed. I was like, I'm never doing this. And then I did do it. And I probably am as stressed out as him.
Well, we'll have to get into that actually a little bit later, because I know we have a question about managing stress down the line. But before we jump into that bit, I am brand new to you. So I want to hear how did Funk It Wellness get tell me the story. I mean, we got a little bit of the inspiration behind it there, but I want to know the in depth, how did you get going with Funk It Wellness? What was the first product that came out? How did you make those decisions, and how did you grow it to the point where it's in Target now?
Yeah, so we're actually not in Target yet, but we did Target's accelerator program. But someday, manifesting that big time for us. We're going to Expo West in a few weeks. So, but it's kind of crazy how I never expected, okay, let me back up. Let me be a little more succinct with this. So I came up with this idea when I was 25 years old. I'm about to turn 30 in April. So we're about 4.5 years old. And people always say things about, oh, they're young, or oh, they're early in their career. I'm convinced that blind faith in youth can actually get you very far, because you don't know what you don't know. I didn't know that starting a business was really hard. I didn't realize that. I mean, I didn't even know what the term profitability meant. When I started this company, it was just blind faith of, I have a good idea. I want to help people. This is going to change the world. And I just went for it. If I was starting another company now, I would be probably so much more cautious, which is an interesting thing. And maybe it's not age, maybe it's just experience. And so that's kind of how it started. I just had, I had started seed cycling myself. I saw a big gap in the market because nobody was talking about it. Because the backstory of how I found seed cycling is I was experiencing really bad hormonal acne, and I had no money. I was living paycheck to paycheck in New Zealand because it was so expensive to live there. And I was working for a startup, so I wasn't making any money, but I was spending all my money on supplements and all my money on skincare, and nothing was working. And I was so frustrated. I was like, this is just a scam. This marketing is wrong. They're lying to me. That's why it's called Funk It. I was so angry when I started this company. I feel like I've healed a lot in the process. So it started out with me just being angry. Why are people lying to me? Why am I spending my money on things that don't work? My acne is getting worse. I'm a pain to be around because I'm so moody and uncomfortable all the time. And so I started seeing a skin doctor over there, and I really wanted to go on Accutane. And he was like, look, no, It's really hard to get over there. They have a much more holistic approach to wellness. And a couple other people had like mentioned seed cycling to me. He had mentioned seed cycling, eating with my cycle. He was just very ahead of his time and really guided me down a different path. And so then I was like, this is such BS. As a dietitian, we are just taught to only believe things that there is tens of 20s of years of peer-reviewed research on. And so I was so skeptical, and I was almost like embarrassed to tell people because I was like, oh, they're not going to think I'm science-based. So I was trying to talk myself out of this being a good idea. So I dove into the research and I was like, wow, flaxseed have a lot of benefits for hormone health. Wow. Sunflower seeds have a lot of vitamin E and B6, and this is really good for hormone health. Wow. Pumpkin seeds have a lot of magnesium. Wow. Sesame seeds have a lot of calcium. And then I was just mind blown. So I was like, I'm just going to dive in with blind faith and hope this works, because like I FaceTime my grandma and she was like, oh, your face looks like it hurts. I'm so sorry. Like that's how bad my acne was. You could see it like over FaceTime. And so after 3 months, and I was really religious with it, I did it every day. I had no new acne. And I was like, huh. And then my periods were coming more regularly. And then my cramps were going away. And then I had a 29-day cycle for the first time in my entire life. And I had no acne. And I barely had mood swings. Like I had them basically 2 days before my period, and that was it. And I was like, this is way better than 2 weeks. And so that's kind of how it got started. And then I started making it in my kitchen and for friends and family. And then I moved back to the States and continued to do that. And then in 2020, it just got to a point where I couldn't keep up with demand. And I was like, I think this is actually like a real company and we should do something. And that's kind of where it snowballed. And so that's how the accidental entrepreneur comes in. Like I just wanted to make something that was good for my friends and for me. And I learned a lot about supply chain, and the foods in the grocery store have to have a 12 to 24 month shelf life. It's part of the reason we're not in big retail right now. And there's all these different things I didn't realize about our food, and not to go down a whole other rabbit hole, but I was really appalled at like the quality of food that's allowed to be available to the general public. And like, especially with seeds, like we do organic, non-GMO, whole ground seeds that get to you between 4 weeks and 8 weeks. Even we can even do that on our Amazon channel. So yeah, it opened my eyes up to a lot. And I'm kind of rambling at this point, but that's kind of just like the raw of like behind the scenes. And then I really learned a lot about growing a company. I cannot thank LinkedIn enough. I cold outreach so many people to help me, and they all were, well, most of them were really kind and would get on the phone with me. The office we have now, a guy who owns a coffee company called Atlas here in Austin, he got on the phone with me and helped me calculate my lifetime value of a customer for literally an hour. And then 2 years later, he ended up letting us move into their old office space. So I just can't preach enough of like the kindness of other people is how I got here.
That's so incredible. And you have more than the seed cycling product now too. Tell us about the other products you have.
Yeah, so it's kind of interesting. Every single product I've created is like a labor of love for somebody in my life, which we don't really talk about a lot. Seed cycling kits I made for me. And that was really, I would say, probably one of my first big acts of self-love for me was this journey. And then my mom is 54 and she started going through perimenopause. She actually had a late menopause. Like she's still in the throes of menopause or perimenopause, and she's over it. She's like, I'm just ready to be done. But she was seed cycling, obviously, to support me and to help her hormones. But then her cycle started to shorten, and she was getting really frustrated with keeping up with seed cycling. And then I started doing research on perimenopause, and I was like, oh my gosh, why aren't we talking about perimenopause? Like this can start as early as 35. For a lot of people, it starts right around 40. That's like halfway through your life when you're the busiest. Like a lot of people have jobs, kids, like all these things, and we're not talking about it. And then I saw the graph of what perimenopause looks like when it comes to our hormones. And it looks so similar to the puberty graph that you go through as a teenager. And we give so much grace to teenagers going through puberty, but why aren't we giving grace to women in midlife who are going through perimenopause? And so I started doing research on that, and I found out the same seeds are great for perimenopause, but different like amounts. So our Revitalized blend has more flax and more sesame. So it has more phytoestrogen properties to help kind of get through that time. Also more omega-3 and more calcium. And then after that, a lot of my friends were like, oh, I'm on birth control and my libido is really low. Are there any natural things for libido? And that's how our maca product came to be. And then I had friends be like, I'm on birth control. I don't really like have a cycle, so I'm not going to seed cycle. But I heard that I might be getting depleted of nutrients and it could put my gut health at risk. So then I created Cycle Bites, which is the first 100% food-based vitamin, which I understand why there's not more food-based vitamins on the market these days, because it is so hard to get something that, one, tastes good, two, isn't a rock. Like the first prototypes were literally like, I think you could have taken somebody out with them if you had a slingshot. They were so hard. We did 130 tries on that one. I was like literally in the lab in Boulder, like mixing things, trying them. And so that came to be, and that's actually the very first food-based vitamin. It's called Cycle Bites, but we're probably going to rename it because a lot of people are like, oh, I only take it on my period. And we're like, no, you take it all month long. So that one's great. It's also great for perimenopause because it's got plant-based vitamin D, calcium, B12. It's got agave inulin to help support prebiotic fiber in the gut. I mean, it is a true multivitamin, minus it does not have folate or choline. So I do not recommend it as a prenatal. Yeah. And then now we have maca collagen latte, which that was just something fun. I got diagnosed with celiac and Hashimoto's last year, and I wanted like a fun caffeine-free beverage that had a little bit of collagen to support my gut health, that didn't have caffeine in it and didn't have soy, gluten, or dairy. And so that was, again, probably for me.
I love it. I didn't realize it was 130 tries because I had the finished product and it's so delicious. That's amazing that you kept going, perseverance through that and doing that.
Almost gave up. Like there was a point where I was like, I just don't think this is going to happen. I just think that this is it. And no, it was worth it. But there was definitely a moment of like, am I wasting time and money on this? Do people really care? And so, yeah, I'm glad that you think it's delicious.
Yeah. And before we move forward, just quick question. Talk to us a little bit more about Target, because I totally thought you were in it already. So walk us through what that relationship is and what you've been doing to get into Target, hopefully someday soon.
Yeah, hopefully. And so the Target Accelerator program is so cool. If anyone's listening who owns a brand, I 100% recommend applying for that. So basically about 5,000 to 8,000 brands apply every year. They pick 30 and you go through a mentorship program of everything you need to know about retail. And so the thing that's really interesting about retail is it's very expensive. So a lot of those brands you're seeing in there are part of the like Johnson & Johnson, P&G, General Mills, like because they have the relationships and they can afford it and they have the know-how. Because you can make $1 million mistake really easy in a retail setting. And I don't have $1 million to make a mistake. So I was so grateful for Target for taking us through that mentorship program, truly like helping us understand everything. Everyone on the Target team was amazing. I met so many cool people. And at the end of it, I kind of decided like, this is not right for us right now because I can't get the shelf life to a place I need it to yet. There's something called nitrogen flushing, which the machine's really expensive, but extends the shelf life without adding any chemicals. But we just don't have the money to do it right now. And so we're actually currently looking for a co-packer that does do that. Then we could start to explore some retail options. But I cannot thank Target enough for that mentorship program. And it came at a time, there's always going to be ebbs and flows in owning a business. And it came at a time where I had just had a lot of change. And I was taking a hard look in the mirror and being like, is this really like what I should keep doing? Because my health wasn't in a great place. The market was in a bad place. Like there's so many other things, but what keeps me going is like, okay, we have thousands of people that use our product that helps. And so that's what kept me going. And then Target helped me keep going too. So very grateful for that.
I often say the key to business is just being stubborn. Sheer stubbornness is what separates a failed business from a successful business. And like, that's basically it.
Yeah, I think so too. And like, I'm an Aries, so I have like, what is that? The bull, or not the bull, a ram. And so, yeah, sheer stubbornness. And then my partner's a Taurus. So like, of course he's like, you gotta keep going. And I just think consistency, like, and sticking to a plan, like, I have an amazing person on my team now named Megan, and she really guides a lot of the marketing and keeping us on track. And I have shiny object syndrome. I think a lot of founders do, where we just like are always excited about something new and just like staying the course of what you already have is actually a really big skill for anyone who's listening who owns a business. Like that is really in life. Just like stick to your plan and then don't give up too soon. That's like, I guess what I'm trying to say.
Oh, yeah, that's huge. I do want to actually ask you about the whole food thing. So in Los Angeles, I had a pop-up restaurant, which I did because I didn't want to deal with all the health and safety stuff. So I just crashed other people's restaurants and set up shop for a night and was like in and out, and I didn't have to deal with the health department. But going through all that process of like getting the kitchen certified to do farmers markets and stuff like that, it's a lot. But I know that a lot of people in our health spaces, our health and wellness spaces, period coaches, a lot of us dabble with the idea of doing food things, right? Like, because it's so easy and most of us like food and we want to heal with food and that kind of thing. So I'm curious is how did you tackle navigating like all of the food regulations in the US? Because it is a doozy.
It is. And also like not focus on the right things, but that's just like my own personal opinion, like focus on weird things, but that's okay. But like keeping people safe is a big, big thing. And so when I was doing it in my kitchen, I had the state of Texas come out and like inspect, similar to like what you do for a farmer's market. But then I moved to a co-man, like our demand outgrew my kitchen and my blend tech very quickly. And so finding a co-packer was so difficult. I called over when a co-manufacturer, for anyone who doesn't know what that is, because I didn't know what that was, is someone who makes your product for you. You still put your name on it. In our case, I still handle all the sourcing and supply chain because I'm just very nitpicky. I don't want things switched out just because they're $1 cheaper. Like that is very important to me. So I always tell people, I'm like, yeah, I do all the ordering for the products and I manage inventory. And yesterday I was looking at warehouses. So it's an interesting skill set, but I chose to work at the co-manufacturer very early because they just have so many more tools and they keep people safe. And I think that that's really important because also as a dietitian, like you go through microbiology, you see what can go wrong. I didn't eat out for like 2 years after my microbiology class. Like I'm a germ freak. I'm just like one of those people who's terrified of germs. Like in college, it was like crippling anxiety around it. So yeah, we moved to a co-manufacturer really quickly. They help you navigate all of those things. You go do a site visit, you see everything. And then that was really helpful, but sourcing was huge for me, organic and non-GMO, and really as low transit time as possible, especially for seeds was something I spent a lot of time doing. And that's why I don't actually have my co-manufacturers do the sourcing on any of our products. I do all the ingredient ordering still, which I need to let go eventually. I'm just not quite ready to give up control of that.
I love it. I worked in restaurants most of my life, right? And so yeah, going out to eat for me is always a matter of like, I have to just put blinders on and forget everything I know about what restaurant kitchens usually look like in the back. And, it was a long time where I had friends in the restaurant. So I would be like, do I come and eat at your restaurant or no, you tell me. It is a harrowing experience out there. So yeah, I think that that's super fascinating. And it's nice and reassuring to hear like how you went through it and that process and that there are options. And yeah, the shared kitchens too, in Los Angeles, where you could, kind of timeshare kitchens that were already health department certified and everything was really nice. So for anyone listening in who is thinking about food stuff, sheer stubbornness, get help and find a space that's already certified.
I'm going to be real, guys. I wouldn't start a food business again. Like if you're listening to this, like it's really hard to scale a food business. And maybe it's just because I'm in my luteal phase, and we're also going through growing pains right now, but it's just like, there's not a lot of money. Like don't start a food business because you want to make money. I guess that's what I should say. If you start a food business, like passion, sheer passion. If you have a trust fund, even better. I don't have that, but it takes a lot of money to scale a food business or at least to scale it correctly, like to make sure it's done right.
Yeah, and I love that you have all this in place. And I think that your science background is perfect for that because other people might not be thinking about that the way that you are. So that's another reason why I trust what you're putting out there. Well, I'm curious because I know you have people working with you when did you start like hiring out? Who was your first hire? And where are you now that you're going through those growing pains? Like, where do you kind of see your company headed?
Yeah, we're still only a team of 2 full-time people, and that actually just happened in January. So we've been a very lean team wearing a lot of hats. So my very first hire was someone to help with packing and shipping, which I was laughing because I was late today because they're out of town. So I was packing and shipping. We've grown enough now where we're moving to an actual warehouse that will handle all of our fulfillment. We're in our own warehouse now, but it's just not feasible for us anymore. And so we're moving to a warehouse that can pack and ship every day of the week. So you guys will get your orders, not just Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So that was my first hire. Then my second hire was help with marketing. And that's as far as we are. And so we're a very small team. It is just, I'm really grateful for people on my team. They know what to do. They get in. But, we've had interns. We've had lots of contractors. I have a lot of awesome friends who do amazing like design work and other things that we contract out, and then building the business from there. My next hire, I would love to hire someone for operations to get that off of my plate. I'm not an ops. I'm like weirdly good at operations, but it's not probably what I'm best at, if that makes sense. Like I can do it for my business because I understand the ins and outs because I've been building it from the ground up. But the next thing I need to pass off is ops. And then if we do decide to go the retail path, we'll have to hire someone to exclusively manage retail because that is a full-time job in itself. And I learned that through the Target program. So those are kind of the next 2 things we're looking at doing. We'd also love to have someone help us with social media again. That would be really fun. I don't know. I feel like I'm like millennial. I don't know. I'm like TikTok is like I try, but it's like not my thing. So, I think those would be great next hires.
Yeah. Well, I'm curious because you have Plunkett Wellness and then you also see clients. So how do you divvy up that time? Like, is having the team, has it been helpful? Or are you kind of still in all of it all the time and then you pause for a few hours just to speak with clients? Like, walk us through how you navigate both.
Yeah. So I'm still in it all the time. And then I see clients at night. So my clients are really awesome and they are cool with my schedule being a little crazy. So Fridays I leave pretty open for clients. And then from 5 to 9, I'll see clients. Not every day. We'll get into stress management. I definitely burned myself out last year. And so the past 12 months have been a big journey of taking time. Luckily, majority of what I do, I really enjoy. There are, of course, things I don't enjoy and things that stress me out, but I kind of feel like at a good place now with what I enjoy and my time. And my husband also works at a global company. And so his hours are crazy too. So we kind of just navigate it as we're both really busy right now. And then we just have to make really dedicated time to see each other. So I wouldn't say I'm doing a great job with schedule management at the moment, but I really enjoy all of it and I don't want to give any of it up. And if it ever gets to a place where it's not manageable anymore, then I'll think about it then.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and just dive in with what have you discovered as being your go-to stress management? What's the like non-negotiable self-care that you've implemented?
Yeah. So I think my biggest thing is I am a morning routine person and I've realized this about myself is my morning routine I will defend to the end. Like that is I have to have at least an hour in the morning and most of the time 2 hours in the morning to not work, to not be on my phone, to enjoy. I have Hashimoto, so I wake up and take my thyroid medicine. I have to wait 12 and not 12. I have to wait 1 hour to eat or have coffee. And so I usually go on a walk and I like ease into my day and I go sit outside. And then after that, I'll like have my breakfast and then I'll have my coffee. And so my biggest thing I've done is just defending my morning from like 7 to 9 is my time. And I don't have kids, so it makes it a little easier because it's just me. And so I just take care of myself. And then the other thing too is like really cycle syncing my work. And I'm in my luteal phase now. So like I took a nap in the middle of the day and then I was so productive afterwards. And I always time block time to go to the gym. That's also really important to me. The first couple of years I was just working all the time. I kind of completely let my health just slide, which is the truth. And I ended up in a situation where I was really sick last year. And so now I'm like, no. I will sleep. I will not set an alarm. I will have my morning routine, and I will go to the gym. And if I do all those things, it's okay if I had to work late because I weaved in time for all those other things during my day. So that's the other thing. And the other thing my husband and I have really been talking about a lot is like some nights it's okay to just not talk. And I think that that's something that I grew up in a really like, I have a million siblings, like very loud. And I actually didn't realize till the pandemic that I like quiet time. And so also having that quiet time is really important to me. And like on top of that, drinking water was something I like have really struggled with my whole life. I hate drinking water, but it's really good for you guys. So, drink water. If you can't have a 2-hour morning routine, at least just drink water.
It's so true. I started mixing coconut water into like coconut water and a squeeze of lime into my water bottle. So it's like something I'm actually excited to drink and tastes good and is extra hydrating because there's a little coconut water in there too. And that's actually gotten me to drink like 16 ounces a day of that now. But it's like I had to basically bribe myself.
Same. I'm like, I bought myself a really cute cup and I was like, okay, drink this water.
I love how you bookend your days, and like I miss the long mornings I used to have, but I still have like if I start my day with a walk, with some quiet time, it changes the whole rest of the day. But I really loved what you said about how sometimes you just don't have to talk, because I feel like that often. I'm like, I just don't want to talk to anybody. I just want to sit here and stare at the wall. Way more now that I have kids than before, but I love that you really bookend your day. And I think that's so important, something that I talk to my clients a lot about too.
Yeah, and that's like something, I've always talked to my clients about, but I've never done for myself. And I think what it comes down to too, and this is getting like a little deeper, but we all deserve to take care of ourselves. And really for so long, I was talking to my grandma and she was like, oh, I don't think I've ever known a woman that, has time for herself. Or she said something like that. And I was like, wow, that's so sad, but it's so true. And so that's just something I'm really trying to change, like going forward is, I don't have any kids yet. And so I'm trying to kind of get these habits now because my mom had kids young and she'll tell you like she didn't have time to kind of figure a lot of this stuff out. And now she's figuring it out like later. But that's just something I'm really trying to figure out now. And nothing's worth my health again. That's the other thing I've decided is nothing is worth my health. And if I also do my red light every day. That's something I'm really into. It's like a little bit more of like a bougie wellness hack that I invested in on Black Friday, but I really like it. But yeah, more quiet time. I just realized I really needed that.
Yeah, I'm a big old fat introvert, so my quiet time is sacred. But thankfully, my partner is also an introvert. And though he's a bit more extroverted than I am, but he's working like 3 jobs. He works his regular job. He also does set design and tech design for the local theater in Albuquerque. And he has his Tai Chi business, which he does 3, 4, 5 days a week, depending on classes and private clients and stuff. So like he comes home and it's just like, just sit in silence for like an hour. And I'm like, good, me too.
Perfect.
I love that. It's the opposite in my house, but I'm always like, I just need a minute.
It's funny because my husband was always like that. And then the busier I've gotten, I was like the same. Like last night we were both sitting on the couch, like next to each other. And I was like, I don't really want to talk. He was like, me either. And I was like, awesome.
Yeah, we both had a long day yesterday. And I was like, let's just watch a rugby game. Like, let's just put a game on. Because we didn't have power for most of the day yesterday. We had a huge windstorm that knocked the power out for most of the day. So like just as the sun was setting, the power came back on and he was just coming home. And it was just like, it's been a weird day, babe. I don't know. It's been crazy up here. It's like everything went off the rails. I did all this, I had all these backup batteries going and trying to like keep things moving and forward and meetings and stuff. And I was like, I think we both need to just decompress and just enjoy the fact that we have power back and, turn on the heat and put on a game and just sit in the silence for like the 80 minutes that a rugby game is and just like enjoy it and unwind and relax a little bit. And it was heaven.
Amazing.
We talked a lot about your journey through all of this and I love it. But where you are now, what is I want to hear the good stuff. Like, what is some of the favorite things for you in doing this work? Like, what's some of the favorite stuff about doing this very menstrual focused work?
I think the best thing about it is I actually genuinely love it and feel like it's making the world a better place. And so I think that's why I can have a really packed and busy schedule, and it's not soul sucking. It's actually very fulfilling, like on a selfish level. Like I personally just really love doing this work. I'm very passionate about it. And it's interesting how like I think a lot of people put so much emphasis on what's my purpose in life and like how do I find my purpose? And I think sometimes it just happens on accident. And I feel like that's kind of what happened with me. And I love like I am so nerdy. Like looking through my clients' labs is like heaven. I love like finding the puzzle pieces and, having epiphanies and getting to go back and share this with them because then it's like, okay, someone's listened to me, they heard me and figuring out what's going on. And then like from the fun kit side, like I love getting the emails that are like, we've been trying to have a baby and now we're finally pregnant, or this is my first good period I've ever had in my whole life. And so I think the thing is like all of that. And I just truly have always wanted to do something that helps people. And so being able to do this work, I feel so grateful. Like Megan on my team, we were both really passionate about wellness. We were talking about like, we just wake up. I mean, not every day. Some days I'm like, oh, I get out of bed. But most days it's like, I'm just really grateful I get to go do something I love that helps people. And that's what makes all of this worth it. That's what makes all the headaches, all the like low paychecks, all the things worth it because I go to bed every night knowing that I love what I do. I love the people I work with. And I'm so grateful I get to continue to do this work.
I love that you said that. I mean, it really is like that email, that text message that like kind of sparks you and keeps you going and re-energizes you. And it's like, okay, I've got this. I might have had the worst day, but this client just let me know that she's had the best period ever. Okay, motivation for the next day to like get out of bed. I feel like all three of us are on that same path. Like, okay, that's what keeps us going. When you're working with your clients, walk us through that? Like, is it a lot of labs? Like, is it a lot of kind of like looking at holistic, like their movement, their diet? Like, how are you kind of working with clients right now?
Yeah. So I only work with clients that are willing to do lab testing because, in my opinion, that is where I can do my best work and help them. And so I do a lot of Dutch testing. I do a lot of GI map testing. I work a lot with practitioners. So I work a lot with their doctor too. Like if we can get labs covered by insurance, we are always going to get labs covered by insurance. Like that is the way we're going to go because I don't take insurance. So it's like usually an initial appointment that's 60 minutes. We do a full intake. Like we completely go through, even if it's the most seemingly irrelevant thing that's ever happened with your health, like I want to know from the time you remember all the way till now, because there is probably some nuggets in there that are going to add up. So we do that. And then most of my clients, either a GI map test or a Dutch test, which Dutch is like the dried urine hormone test. So those are my two most common I work with because I find a lot of people come to me for hormones and we actually end up realizing we have to start with gut health because that's no hormone work I do with them is going to really make that big of an impact if we've got a lot going on in the gut. So we usually start there. And then we tweak and we tweak and we tweak until we get to a point where we feel like we've really evaluated the root cause. We've really healed that. And then we kind of move on and then we retest if they want to. Look, if they feel great and they don't want to pay to retest, I'm not going to make them retest. Like it's just a lot of people want to know though, like, okay, is my gut actually better? Are my hormones actually better? And I'm an analytical person and I love to see the like actual results. So that's what we do. That's what I do a lot of. So I spend a lot of my time reading Dutch tests, a lot of my time reading GI map tests, coming up with protocols. And I do look at it from a nutrition standpoint, a movement standpoint, a stress and like psychological standpoint, and then just like a holistic view. Like we talk about sleep, we talk about movement, we talk about a lot about protein and fat and fiber, and kind of just coming up with all of those different things because I just don't think you can isolate. Let's just talk about nutrition because nutrition it's not in a silo. It's part of your whole life. And so that's kind of the way I look at it. We spend a lot of time on stress and I refer a lot of people out. I'm like, I think that you need to work with me, but I also think we need to work with another like mental health practitioner because mental health, physical health are so connected. There's just no way we can isolate the two.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, especially in this day and age, like dealing with stress is top of the list. It's just unavoidable and has to be dealt with because it's all day, every day, no matter what you do, where you are, it's just crazy pants out there to live. So
it really is. Like everyone's life is stressful. And I mean, just getting in your car, like whatever it is, like it can be stressful. So that's a big thing. We spend a lot of cortisol. We talk a lot about cortisol. Most of my clients, when we do lab testing, their cortisol comes back high. Like most people I talk to have high estrogen, high cortisol, high DHEA. So that's where I spend a lot of my time.
yeah, I think you're not alone in that. I think that's pretty similar to what Katie and I see in our clients as well, especially as I have a focus with endometriosis. High estrogen just makes everything so much worse. So it's certainly one of the first go-tos when I'm working with clients as well, because it's like estrogen grows that tissue. We got to work on the estrogen because it's not necessarily a hormonal imbalance disease, but it's certainly a disease affected by hormonal imbalance. So we need to work on, so that high estrogen is such a doozy, especially with my endo clients. It's a big one.
Yeah. Most people, it's just like, and it's funny, I've been doing this long enough in our intakes, I'm rarely surprised by labs. Like I can almost pinpoint, I almost know exactly what they're going to be, but I always like, we need to run them just because I could be wrong. I've been wrong once or twice and I've been like, wow, these look completely different than what I would have guessed. But most of the time I kind of know what they're going to come back looking like. So then like I can go ahead and kind of get them started like, okay, pretty sure your estrogen's high. We're going to do some things for this in the meantime, because I don't ever want people to leave the first appointment without something tangible to work on, because I think that's infuriating. Like you want to feel better, you want to be making steps, but then it's also like we need the labs to guide where we're really going and making sure we're getting you the most bang for your buck. I feel like I'm just always chronically on a budget, so I'm trying to make sure everyone else is getting their money's worth of like everything. I probably like the more I talk, I'm like, I probably should work on my mindset around money, but I just want people to really, I think so much of the healthcare system is expensive and takes advantage. And I never want to do that. I always want people to leave better than they came and feel like it was really worth it.
Oh, 100%. Absolutely. And actually a lot of my clients don't even have health insurance. So there's a lot of that conversation of like, can we do testing? Or are we just going to wing it and see how we go? And it's up to you because you're the one that has to pay for it one way or the other. So I find that kind of comes hand in hand. But do you find yourself giving like the same advice to clients over and over again?
I think a lot of things do apply to most people, like stress management, eating more fiber, eating more protein, paying attention to our cycles is a big thing we start with, like actually taking notes, actually seeing how we're feeling. So yeah, I think there's a 25% that applies to almost everyone. And that's why, I mean, like even when I started my Hashimoto's and gut health journey, like I had SIBO, H. pylori, Hashimoto's, and I got diagnosed with celiac. So it was like this crazy. And I mean, like, I'm a dietitian. I should have known. I went to this other dietitian. She was like, you need to drink more water and eat more protein. And I was like, I just paid you $250 to tell me to drink more water and eat more protein. But it's exactly like when I did my food intake, I was like, wow, I'm getting like 40 grams of protein a day. Like, this is awful. So, I think we all need to be reminded. So those are my like things I feel like I'm always saying. People drink more water, eat more protein, get more gentle movement, sleep more, meditate.
Like listening
It also
to
feels different. Oh, sorry.
I was just saying, it sounds like listening to a Katie's Instagram live. It's protein, protein, protein.
Yeah, and like I was
real.
gonna totally, and I was gonna say sometimes you just need someone to tell you what to do. Like all of us are helping other people all the time. It's nice to have someone tell us what to do and be like, okay, like you can see what's actually going on, but what I'm sharing with you, it's hard to see when I'm doing it day by day. So I love that we're seeking other people's support and help, because when we work with other people too, it just helps us figure out how to like work better with our own clients.
Yeah, it's also good to see like, oh, what was annoying about that process? What do I think could have been more smooth? Or what did I really love about that process? And so that it helped me a lot when I was like starting to work with clients. And yeah, oh gosh, I could probably charge more, but I'm not going to. So, here's what it is.
Well, through your work, we talked about kind of like, drinking more water, eating more protein, but is there one specific, like your favorite hormone balancing tip or something that surprises your clients when you do share it with them? It might have been something we already talked about, but I'm just curious, like what that might be.
Yeah. So I think what's interesting, because I do just see so many. Oh, okay. I have two things. The first thing is when we talk about caffeine. That is the one I feel like I just taught a workshop on Sunday. In this sense, we ended up, I always leave half the time for Q&A because I'm always, you never know what a certain group's going to want to focus on. And so caffeine came up like probably for like 20 out of the 30 minutes we had Q&A. And when I explain to people, like not just say, oh, don't drink coffee, because I don't actually believe that. That's not what I believe. When I say, okay, cortisol is your stress hormone. It's what wakes you up in the morning. It is a good thing. We need cortisol. If you had no cortisol, that'd be a bigger problem, actually, probably than it being high. So it wakes you up in the morning and it peaks in the morning. If you immediately get up, do a fasted workout, and chug a coffee, it keeps going up and then it sharply dives down and crashes. That cortisol spike causes inflammation, causes a whole other chain of reactions inside your body. So I'm not telling you to not have coffee. I'm asking you, can you wait 60 minutes before you have your coffee? And can you have breakfast before you have your coffee so that we can level out that cortisol spike to a really healthy pattern, to a really healthy cortisol pattern? And will you just try that for a month and tell me how you feel after? I'm not saying you can't have it. If you want to have 3 cups that day, that's something we'll work on next month. But just give me the first 60 minutes without it. 100% of people have come back and been like, that was life changing. So that's like my number one thing. I think that most people, it's relevant to most people. And then combined with that breakfast tip. And then the next thing I think is really interesting is how important fiber is in our diets. This is one of the reasons I love seed cycling so much. It's one of the reasons I love raw carrot salad so much. Just increasing your fiber intake, and not just the 25 grams that they say we need. I still think that's a little bit low, but it's a great starting place. If we can just be getting that in from fruits and vegetables and whole grains every day, that helps your liver, that helps your GI system, that helps the whole cascade of hormones. And really, it's pretty affordable to be able to tweak those two things. So, and then if we could add another layer, if you could get out in the sunlight in those first 60 minutes and put your feet on the ground, oof. And then if we add another layer and we could get you seed cycling, like it's just these things where it's like peeling back the layers. But I think those are the things I talk about the most with people that they're surprised about. Like because I'm a why person. Don't tell me not to drink coffee. Tell me why. Like I need to understand like what's going on in my body. And I find most people are like that. When you explain to them what's going on with their cortisol levels and you show them the graph and then you're like, oh, okay, I can wait 60 minutes. I can have some breakfast. And then like telling people like, okay, a lot of my clients, I don't wake up hungry. I'm like, okay, that is a sign that we might have a little bit of high cortisol going on, a little bit of anxiety in the morning, and also that our metabolism might be a little sluggish. And they're like, oh, so waking up hungry is a good thing? I'm like, it's a great indicator that your body is doing what it's supposed to do. So then like talking to them about eating a high protein snack before bed. I went way off topic. That was way more than one thing, but it's just like all the things add up and they're all like little things that you can do. And I just wish that information was more readily available to people.
Yeah.
Fully
I feel like
agree.
everybody wants that quick fix and they're like, wait, you just want me to drink water? Like, you just want me to have sunshine? It's like, well, things that you need to survive on. Yeah.
You're basically a house plant. Just get out there.
It's all good stuff. It's all huge. And it's something that we talk about in the school over and over again. Caffeine, booze, metabolism.
Booze is a whole other one. I forget because I quit drinking like a year ago. And it's funny, booze ruled so much of my life. And now I like don't think about it that often. That's another one.
Every time we get a new intake of students, we start that whole conversation all over again about wine and that evening glass of wine and that whole conversation. So I haven't drank in years. I mean, I have maybe a couple sips of something if we're out at a dinner or doing a tasting or something, but I can't really drink anymore since the last concussion I had. It just makes like fireworks go off in my brain. So I was like, okay, great, that's fine. I don't really need to drink anyway. Um, but yeah, it comes up all the time. So it's always that discussion that we're coming back to constantly. It's like caffeine and booze, which is, you're regulating. You're doing caffeine to get up, you're using booze to get down, or you could eliminate both and just be even keeled all the time. So we're always like, no, I need this to get up, but then I need this to go to sleep, but then I need this to get awake in the afternoon, but then I need this to, you're micromanaging your daily circadian rhythm in a way, but via coffee and booze. Whereas if you just eliminated both, you'd save a crap ton of money, and then you wouldn't have to manage your ups and downs because they would be so much more level and reasonable. But we're in such a culture that celebrates coffee, celebrates wines, wine mom mugs and t-shirts and all that kind of stuff, that we just celebrate those things, that when you start talking to clients about, hey, let's talk about coffee, they're like, oh no, give me coffee or give me death. And you're like, okay, I know that's a t-shirt. I get that. But just because our culture really wants you to be cracked out doesn't necessarily mean that you have to do that. Like, I understand that capitalism wants you to be a very eager working bee, and they want to give you all the caffeine in the world to make that happen. But you could just opt out. You don't have to. It's scary. You don't have to.
Well, both of you probably have the clients that come like, okay, I really want to work with you, but I'm not giving up my coffee. I'm not giving up my alcohol. And you're like, okay. And then you start working with them and they're like, oh my goodness, I have more energy. I'm sleeping better. I don't need the alcohol. I don't need the coffee. I think some people need to be able to walk through that and discover that, because I'm not a coffee, or I don't drink alcohol, but if you've been doing coffee your whole life, like some of my friends started drinking coffee at 14, 15 years old.
Oh yeah. I was quite
You don't even know what it feels like to not have coffee to get you going in the morning.
Oh, I joke. Yeah. I'm from Brooklyn. I had coffee in my baby bottle. What do you mean? Come on.
It's interesting too. And I didn't start drinking coffee till college, but I even now, so I cycle my caffeine, with my menstrual cycle. And so my follicular phase, I do have a mushroom coffee that has 45 milligrams of caffeine, but then the rest of my cycle, I drink matcha or tea. And so it's really interesting, but coming off of coffee was so much harder than coming off of booze. And I was a girl who went out, I drank a lot. Giving up caffeine was so much harder because it was an everyday habit. So yeah, when my clients come to me and they're like, I want to give up those things, I'm like, fair. And it is usually the same thing. The better you start feeling when we're not having to use them as crutches, but also the social aspect, oh, you want to go grab a coffee? Oh, you want to go grab a drink? It's just so ingrained in us.
I gave up gluten and sugar before I gave up caffeine. And even at that, I know in my cycle when I can go have a decaf latte and when I cannot. Even a decaf is too energizing and makes me jittery. So I do the same thing. I know when in my cycle I can say, yeah, let's go get a coffee, and I can go get a decaf, latte or something with a lot of fat in it to kind of even that little bit of caffeine in the decaf to sort of buffer it. But there are days when I'm like, nope, can't even go get a decaf. So do you have chamomile tea?
My body can't handle any caffeine. I don't even
mine probably can't either. I do it.
Matcha, even I can't sleep well if I have matcha.
No, I couldn't do matcha. No, that's too much caffeine for sure for me.
I will say one of the beautiful things about having ADHD, which it's frustrating for majority of things, but I can tolerate a little bit of caffeine. And the second I feel so lucky about this, the second I lay down at night, out. My brain's been so overstimulated all day. It's oh, we're done? Okay.
Oh, absolutely. One of my best friends is very ADHD and has several different she calls them neuroquirky things. But yeah, she can't get into a doctor to get diagnosed. Her kids are diagnosed, they have meds, but she herself cannot get in for an appointment, so she can't get meds. So she uses coffee. And so every now and then she's like, I know I shouldn't be doing coffee. It's not good for my hormones. And I'm like, no. Back up.
There are times it's needed.
You can't get meds. You need the coffee because it's essentially the closest thing you can get to what you should be getting, which is medication. But since you cannot back up, stop berating yourself for using coffee as medication. It's, I use cannabis as medication. You use coffee as medication. We are doing what we need to do to be healthy and happy and functioning human beings.
That's so interesting about the caffeine and the
Yeah.
ADHD. Didn't know that.
Yeah, because if you look at a lot of things you get are stimulants. And so then the coffee can like help balance it out, or like the caffeine. And then it's nice because then you can just pass out at night and go to sleep.
Yeah. Yeah, that was one of the things. I was like, if you have trouble sleeping, we'll talk about maybe cutting off the coffee earlier in the day. But as of now, that's not even remotely a problem. So it's like, yeah, no, you're using coffee as medicine. That's you have to take care of yourself in a proper way. So yeah, it is an interesting but that's one of the fun things about being a coach, right? Everyone is a different puzzle. And so you never have the same client twice. You're never solving the same puzzle twice. You're always having like different things, which is one of my favorite things about the menstrual movement and period coaching and all that kind of stuff. And I would love to hear what you have to say about the future. So what do you think the future of period coaching, the menstrual movement, like where do you think it's going?
Well, the future is an interesting question with what's going on right now in the legislature. So that's an interesting question for sure. I do think when it comes to like period coaching and menstrual coaching, that there will be a lot more people doing amazing things and being able to help people. I think that we're in a space now where people are finally waking up and seeing that the menstrual cycle is truly a fifth vital sign, and it truly is an indicator of health, and taking care of your hormones is the foundation of taking care of your body. It worries me a lot with what's going on in our world about if people will continue to have access to that. And I don't think that's a dramatic statement at this point. Like if you're seeing what's going on with Alabama, with IVF being taken away. I live in Texas. I'm from Alabama, so I feel like I felt very connected to what's going on there. And so it's weird. I'm super excited and optimistic and hopeful for the future when it comes to the future of understanding our bodies. I am very scared when it comes to the future of truly having medical care that we need and ability to express ourselves. And I know a lot of people listening might think that that's dramatic, but a lot of people thought IVF would never get taken away. So I just think like we have to really think about these things realistically and practically. And I think there's never been a more important time to understand your body and your cycle and your hormones, because it's a measure of safety at this point.
Oh yeah, I got so many comments about how I was being a drama queen when that election back in the day with He Who Shall Not Be Named was up, because I was like, it's not about him, it's about the Supreme Court justices he's going to put up, and he's going to overturn Roe versus Wade. And everyone was like, oh, stop being so dramatic, they're not going to overturn Roe versus Wade. I was like, they are, and it will just be the beginning. And oh, you're hysterical. Someone legit called me hysterical, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna throw down right now. But then it turned out to be true.
Yeah, it turned out to be very true. And like living in Texas, nothing surprises me. Like, I don't think it'll just stay in Alabama. And I think that people not having access to basic health care and then now IVF, like it's barbaric.
Yeah, birth control's on the chopping block in some states now as well, which obviously we've talked about on this podcast with, Ricky Lake and Holly Griggs-Ball and Abby Epstein about the pros and cons to birth control, but having access to it is still important. And that's on the chopping block in states currently as well. So it's every state is just like, where can we push the envelope? And if they can get it passed, other states are like, oh yeah, they did it, let's jump on. So it's just a matter of time for like this thing in Alabama to spread to other states, this thing in Texas to spread to other states, this thing in, wherever, Idaho is going to, spread to other states. So it's really just a matter of those things. And I'm very happy to live in essentially New Mexico is Texas's sanctuary state. We have our Planned Parenthoods are overflowing. In fact, I'm just got an email about sponsoring Rocky Mountain Planned Parenthood for an event, which I was like, yes, 100% I'm in, because our Planned Parenthoods, like we can't get into them because we have people from Texas and Oklahoma who are just flooding our Planned Parenthoods because they need medical support. Like, it's not, they need medical attention and they can't get it. So we have turned into a sanctuary state as well for the LGBTQ plus community. So that I love, because that just makes our state more fun and vibrant and colorful. So I'm kind of happy we're getting all of those people coming over here to make our state more fun. But yeah, it's getting scary out there. So I do think period coaches, I completely agree with you. Like, someone's going to have to fill that gap. Someone's going to have to help people naturally understand their cycles. We're going to have people who are going, okay, well, you can't get access to a doctor for this. So let's let coaching fill this gap so that you can deal with it holistically instead of medically, which in a lot of cases is actually the better way to go anyway. So that's nice. And I think it's going to become the standard as well. But legislatively, it's going to become unavoidable for a lot of people.
Yeah. And same, like, I don't love birth control, obviously, but I think everyone should have access to it. And I think that that's the thing, is like, we just need to like prioritize women's health and in our healthcare. And it's over half the population. And a lot of people making these decisions don't know anything about it. So we need more people like us who understand and who can be here for people and help them navigate it. So yeah, don't think there's been a more important time to have more period coaches and just more of the general population that understands periods and has access to podcasts that are free and like all these free resources and education, because one, we all deserve to know about our bodies, but two, you really need to these days. There's no more just like guessing.
Yeah, absolutely. Like the education piece is so important. So many of us were never taught that, right? And the new generation of teenage girls coming up, like, okay, like, let's really dive into what your period is and know your cycle and when you're fertile and all the things, so you can just be educated. That's a big piece of the puzzle, which I know they're taking away as well, but we need more of us to just educate.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, this has been fantastic. I think we could rant about legislation for a whole nother hour, which probably we should do an episode on just current legislation stuff at some point. But in the meantime, thank you so much for sharing your journey and your tips. And I feel like anyone who's listened to this is probably like furiously taking notes, like, oh yeah, I'm going to go do that. Oh yeah, fiber. Yes, got that. Okay. I'm going to like, yes, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that. So I love it. I think this episode has a lot of actionable tips and hormonal balance tricks, which I absolutely adore. And your journey, like, oh my God, way to just reinforce the like passion, stubborn perseverance, like, and something that you had said earlier that really rung out to me was that we focus a lot on find your passion, but really what it is go do stuff. And your passion will appear. You'll go, you know what? I'm not really stoked about this. I tried it. It was not fun. I don't want to do this anymore. Let me do something else. And you will reveal your passion through action, which I think is something that we get a little caught up in our heads about. And we think, oh no, I have to figure it out before I take action. But reality, taking action is what's going to help you figure it out. So I love your journey. I love that you shared your story. Thank you so much for being so open and generous with us.
Thank you guys for having me. It's been a blast.
So before we sign off, we need to know, we have a rapid question round, but before we do that, where can people find you? What are your socials? Where can they order some seeds? Like, tell everyone everything they need to know.
Yeah, if you want a seed cycle or have any of those other products I talked about, funkitwellness.com. Our Instagram is funkitwellness. So is our TikTok. If you want to get to know me, my Instagram is carbs, like a piece of bread, carbs and Kate. And that's where you can find all my stuff for like one-on-one clients and more info about Funkit. And I just post a lot of stuff about basically how I'm living with my cycle every day, trying to make it more attainable and simple. But yeah, those are the two places to find me.
Love it. All right. Katie, do you want to kick us off for the rapid round here?
All right. So we learned a lot about you today, but now we're going to learn more. What is your biggest craving?
Ooh, I really like savory things. So like I have a big savory craving. So I love mac and cheese, which is interesting because I can't have gluten or dairy. So I've gotten really creative, but I just love savory food, anything that's really rich and delicious and savory.
Okay, so when you have one of those cravings, what do you eat?
I make this really yummy butternut squash gluten-free mac and cheese, and it actually tastes really good. Because it's a craving I get very often, I have pretty much perfected it at this point.
I'm gonna need that recipe.
I will send it.
That sounds delicious. What's your favorite way to move?
Ooh, my favorite way to move, I've actually been really into weightlifting. So it's not something I've ever really done before. I've always been a Pilates girl, but I definitely want to get stronger, thinking about starting a family in the next year. And birth is something that requires a lot of strength and muscle. And so I've been feeling really empowered around weightlifting lately. So that's probably my current favorite way.
I love it. What is your number one self-care when you realize, oh my God, I am so stressed. I need to blow off some steam or I need to de-stress? What's the number one go-to?
Reading books. So it's canceling all my plans, getting a good book, and not talking to anyone for 24 hours is the number one way to recharge myself.
What music do you love to listen to when you're working?
Oh, I actually listen to podcasts while I work. And so pretty much any health and wellness podcast I'll throw on. There's also a podcast called Startup Therapy, which I really like if I'm ever just kind of stuck in a problem or how I built this. So yeah, I'm definitely a podcast girl at work, or complete silence. I'm definitely a weirdo when it comes to that one.
I need complete silence, but I love listening to podcasts. So when I'm doing things that I don't really need to think hard in, I can listen to a podcast, but yeah.
Same.
What is your favorite country or place that you visited?
Oh, I lived in New Zealand for a couple of years, and that's definitely my favorite place I've ever been in the entire world. It's absolutely beautiful. The people are amazing. The food is amazing. It's so clean. But I'm going to Sri Lanka on Friday, so I don't know. I might have to reevaluate after I go see that side of the world as well.
You'll have to tell us.
I'll update you.
Yes. Favorite holiday?
I really love Valentine's Day. It's probably my favorite, or Halloween. I really like themes and dressing up, and they're kind of more low pressure holidays. I don't love the pressure that comes with a lot of other holidays. So my mom always made Valentine's Day a really big deal in my house. We all would come down, we have these cute little gift baskets, and each kid would get something different, and she made it really special. And so I feel like that's probably why I like Valentine's Day the best.
That's so good. I love it. Is there a food that you hate?
I admittedly don't love broccoli, but I do eat it. I do eat it because it's so good for me, but it's one that my husband's gotten really good at cooking and dressing up. But I don't hate it. That's just the first one that comes to mind of one that always surprises people. I'm I don't really I want to like it, but I don't. I actually, you know what I hate? I hate melon fruits. I hate honeydew melon. It makes me want to gag. That I take it back. It's not broccoli. It's honeydew melon.
Pumpkin spice, yay or nay?
Oh, I love it. It's so fun. I love when that season comes. I'm give me all the things.
Same. Do you cook?
Look, I'm going to be honest with you guys because I've told you so many other things on this podcast. My husband does 95% of the cooking, and he is so much better at it than me. And I love to, so I'm very into science-based cooking. So I do sourdough breads. I like to bake, and I'm actually really good at cooking meat now because it's very scientific. I roast a whole chicken every week, but the day-to-day cooking is all him.
That's kind of why we ask. I think it's good that people share that, no, I don't cook. I hate it.
He, when he was out of town, he was out of town for a week, and he was doesn't look like anything has moved in the kitchen. I'm that's because it hasn't. Because I roasted a whole chicken at the beginning of the week, and I ate off of that, and I eat veggies. If I can just not cook, but I recognize the importance of feeding myself, so I definitely do cook for myself. But if it's just me, I'm not going to cook a whole meal. I'll make I'll steam some broccoli. I'll eat whatever's left over. I'm very big on leftovers. So yeah, I wish I loved cooking. It looks really fun when you like it, but I'm also someone who will follow a recipe and I'm not someone who like loves like, let's play with a new flavor. Like, let's do this thing. I just like, let's just eat and be done.
Your favorite place to work?
Ooh, honestly, my couch. I love the days. I'm like so in the luteal phase right now, but I love the days I can just curl up on the couch and like knock out work and like be really cozy. Or like randomly, Megan and on our team for our monthly meeting will try out a new coffee shop. So that's pretty fun too.
Yeah, I like that. All right, last question. What's your ideal Friday night?
Ooh, depends. In my luteal phase, my ideal Friday night would be a really nice, like, cooked dinner and then, like, hanging out and playing games. We really like to play board games, which is, like, a new thing for me. I didn't grow up in a board game family, but I really like playing dominoes or, like, watching a movie. But then if I'm, like, in my follicular phase, I'm definitely going to want to at least go out for, like, some kind of like mocktail after work or go out to dinner. So yeah, it just depends. I like a chiller Friday night though, because I'm usually trying to unwind from the week. And I really like to take Friday night to like connect with my partner and like really, because we don't connect a lot during the week, as I mentioned. So Friday night kind of is exclusively for us to hang out. And then Saturday, I'm always with friends.
It's so interesting because I think every single person said staying home on Friday night. I love it. It's so interesting, like how things change, right? And what you
We're getting
crave.
older. Just want to stay home,
so interesting.
chill, don't want to spend money.
Yeah, and like how like that just speaks to how we've made our homes like so comfortable too and relaxing, and how it just like helps us at the end of the week as well, just sink into that couch. I love that feeling when the boys are sleeping. I'm like, I'm just gonna sink in, wrap myself in a blanket. Kate, it is always so wonderful to chat with you and learn from you. Thank you so much for being here today, and have the most amazing trip. Thank you for sharing your wisdom with everybody, and for everybody that's listening, you just found probably one of your new period besties. So go follow Kate. She's got some amazing things for you. And thank you again so much for being here. And everybody else who's listening, thanks for being here. Be sure to follow and like and subscribe and come back for our next episode.
A big shout out and thank you to our sponsors for today's episode, Period Coaching School and Katie Bressack Wellness.
Thanks to you, our favorite bestie, for listening to the Period Besties podcast, where no topic is TMI. And of course, share this episode with your besties.
Remember to leave us a 5-star review, nothing less than the best for us besties, and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.
You can follow us on Instagram at Stasha Washburn and at Katie Bressack, or email us at periodbestiespodcast@gmail.com.
Check out more about us at katiebressack.com and periodcoachingschool.com. And of course, check the show notes for free goodies and extras that support this episode.
We'll see you on the next episode.
Bye for now, besties.